Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the European Cross-Hub webinar. And we do have the euro higher, and we did have some data come out. The German CPI Saxony came in down 0.7, and then that was an hour ago. And then German CPI Brandenburg came out just a few moments ago, and that was came in up 0.1. And then earlier we did have Spanish HICP flash come in close to being in line, which is still down 0.9. And at the bottom of the hour, we'll get BOE consumer credit and mortgage lending and applications. And let's see here. As we roll into the States, we'll get the German CPI preliminary, and then Canadian housing and producer prices and shy PMI and pending home sales. So you can see here the euro dollars appeared 1979. We had a high of 1983. And take a look at where we are with cable. Still haven't been able to take out 33.82 here on the cable. And then a quick look at the Aussie dollar and Kiwi. We have challenged up here at the 74 cents here with the with the Aussie dollar, and then lastly with Kiwi. We've actually made it up here almost to 70.50. We're at 70.27 right now. And last Friday, I had shown here where we were looking for a projection for us to get to 12,332 on the NASDAQ. And that projected was off of this bull flag right there. And we actually made it there. We got to 12,337. So we did meet our target. And you can see that the market has gone and pulled back. Once we were looking for 12,232. We got to 12,237. And we've had a pretty decent pullback. Right now, we're just, this is actually a 50% pullback. And we're currently right now at same day VWAP. And you can see here with the SPOOs. They made it up here to the 36.50 area. They've gone and pulled back. And just a quick look where gold is. Wow, we've already dipped down to 1770. You can see on this last 2-hour bar that was completed, we actually engulfed it. So potential for us to move back up. We'll see what happens. And we do have a fair amount of economic data as we roll into the last day of the month. And we'll just go on and cover the news before we get into the analysis. New Zealand dollar on track for the best month since 2013. The Australian New Zealand dollars opened the week higher on Monday as optimism about a vaccine driven global recovery led the currencies to their highest level in months and put the Kiwi on track for a monthly gain of over 6%. The New Zealand dollar opened at 70.46, the highest level since July of 2018, 1/10% higher than its Friday close of 70.35. It had pared back some gains to be flat in the afternoon on track for a 6.3% gain in November, the most in a month since September 2013, as investors scaled back expectations for more policy expectations given the risk of surging housing prices. The recovery in global equities to record highs and the outlook seemingly more promising with the emergence of a vaccine seems very encouraging, and that has pushed both growth sensitive and currencies higher, particularly this month. But the Kiwi has outperformed pretty clearly, said Westpac senior currency strategist Sean Callow. Helping sentiment on Monday was a survey showing factor activity in China handily beaten forecasts in November, leaving blue chips 6.6% higher for the month. The Australian dollar was higher at 73.33 on Monday after reaching 74.08 earlier in the session, the highest in 3 months, and the Aussie is on track to close November 5.1% stronger, its largest monthly gain since April. And lastly, with the dollar, the dollar plumbs a 2-year low as the Fed comes into focus. The dollar touched more than a 2-year low on Monday and is set to log its largest monthly loss since July as a combination of vaccine optimism and bets on more monetary easing in the U.S. and drove investors out of the world's reserve currency. Against a basket of currencies, the dollar slipped to 91.70, its lowest since April of 2018. The euro and Aussie each rose slightly to 3-month peaks. The moves were small as world stocks took a breather at the end of the biggest calendar month rally on record. The Aussie is up more than 5% for the month. The Kiwi up 6.3, and sterling that's 33.25 and is up nearly 3% of the dollars investors wager a Brexit deal will be brokered as the deadline for its talks loom. The dollar index has dropped 2.5% in November as promising trial results for the major vaccine candidates excited investors about an eventual end to the coronavirus. Nervousness about a wave of new infections across Europe and the US and fresh lockdowns have provided some support to safe haven currencies and a slight break on the dropping dollar. However, as the drawn-out U.S. election has distracted lawmakers from passing any sort of fiscal spending package, investors have begun to expect that the Fed will step in probably with major bond buying when it meets next December. Testimony from Fed Chair Jerome Powell before Congress on Tuesday and Wednesday, as well as U.S. labor markets data this week, will be closely watched for clues as to the central bank's thinking and the broad shape for the economic recovery. The Japanese yen was at 387 per dollar and has gained a little over 0.5% since November as the death toll from pandemic climbed towards 1.5 million people. The dollar is gently drifting to the lows of the year as investors reallocate portfolios to recovery trades in the rest of the world. While most lockdown restrictions may stand to curb U.S. equity markets, the prospect of the Fed being prepared to add more liquidity should limit any dollar upside. And given that the dollar index has fallen in 7 of the last 10 Decembers, we do favor gentle downside to the end of the year. November also marks the 6th consecutive monthly gain for the Chinese yuan. So with that, we'll just go in and start the analysis. So taking a look here with the euro dollar to start. So the euro closed above the 1941 weekly level, opening a challenge for 2036. Immediate resistance will be 1967 with support at 1888. But you can see here we're still pressing up in here. But we did have 1967 as our immediate resistance, so we'll go with that. And immediate support. We've actually opened up a little bit higher, so we can move that immediate support to this first challenge area here, which would then be the right there, 1910. Onto the cable. So the cable's been unable to sustain a closing price above 33.82. The pair is vulnerable to a pullback. Immediate support is going to be 32.48 with resistance at 33.52. It looks like they just made it up there to about 33.53 or 5. So 32.48 and 33.52. So the Aussie closed at a new weekly high since the summer of 2019. Weekly challenge price will be 74.36 with immediate resistance at 74.12 and support will be 73.28. So it looks like we did make it just a hair above that. So 74.12 and 73.28. And on to the Kiwi. This thing has just been unbelievable. So the Kiwi closed at a weekly level of 73.24. Resistance ahead will be 73.64. We haven't quite made it up there, with major support at 69.46. I don't know why I put there for 73.24. I meant to put 70.24. Hold on. So really, that's pretty much in line for now here. So we're going to keep that. And let's go with the dollar CAD. So the dollar CAD closed at a new daily low. Solid support on the weekly comes in at 29.09. Immediate support will be 29.54 with resistance at 30.22. And on to the peso. The dollar peso is making an attempt to hold the 20-cent level. Support remains at the weekly level of 20, meant to say not 2089, but 1989, with resistance at 2017. So the dollar yen closed the week holding just above 0400. Support to start the week will be 372 with resistance at 436. Onto the cash dollar index. The dollar index closed sub 194, opening the door for stops. The index is likely to make an initial run to the 9120s with immediate support at 9154 and resistance at 9216. And for the Kiwi yen, the Kiwi yen closed above the 72.77, opening a challenge higher. There's a gap level of 73.58, which will be resistance. Support will be 72.52. I don't know why I've got that marked as bearish. It's actually bullish. The euro pound rebounded off the 88.75 level to close above 89.68. You can see that. Resistance to start the week will be 90.35 with support at 89.45. And for the euro odd, the euro odd defended the 61.50 area. You can see that right here. For the weekly close, support will be 61.36 with resistance at 62.46. We're almost there. We actually tagged that 62.46. So 61.35, 61.36. And for the euro Kiwi, the euro Kiwi hit the 70-cent area on the weekly close. Support to start the week will be 69.58 with resistance at 70.56. We're almost at 70.56. On to the Aussie yen. The Aussie yen spent the last week in a 50 pip range. Resistance will be 77.34 with support at 76.35. On to the guppy. So the guppy was turned away from the 39.73 level last week, allowing for a pullback. Support will be 37.78 with resistance at 39.01. Looks like we tagged that 39.01 a little while ago. And to wrap things up with the sterling odd, sterling odd broke support level of 2039, opening a challenge for 79.52, which that's crazy. Didn't make any sense right there. Well, 79.52 is going to be the support. Resistance will be 81 even. And this is actually more neutral, but it's still held up fairly well. So you're still going to give it the benefit of being still bullish. Once again, we'll take a look at the euro. Hold up very well up in here. I just don't know if we can blast any further. We probably should even be even higher right now. So once again, key level there up at that 1967. The door's open if they want to push it all the way up to 2034. But for right now, it seems like they could kind of ease back a bit. And take a look where we're standing here with Apple. You can see here just relatively quiet, from the close on Friday. Microsoft, same thing. Nothing stands out. Amazon, look at Google. Everything's relatively quiet from where they're at. So hence we've seen this pullback in the equities. Take a look what we are with Tesla. We're trying to push up in here, but that $600 area is pretty key. And then, of course, with Netflix, would be key for it to get back at 495. But once again, anything happening of any real, to suggest an even further move, at least at this point. It's going to be the last day of the month. And once again, we did reach that target that I was looking for in the NASDAQ, which is 12,232. We got up to 12,237. So obviously we're seeing a pullback after reaching that target. So a bit of a mixed bag, but I'd have to think a little bit of mixed bags are lower. And you can see here, we got a gravestone doji right in here. You see there on the 2-hour chart, and we hence since pulled back. We do have, this is basically an engulfing, but it didn't go, the body open was actually above here. But once again, we've made it to the 50% pullback. We'll see whether or not, maybe they'll, as they go into the US Open, they'll try and challenge up in here, and then we'll see what it's made of. But that's going to be it as far as that goes. And nothing else. Gold is below the $1,800 area. S&Ps have seen a pretty good pullback themselves. And with that, we do, as I said, have some data coming into the last day of the month. Quite a bit of data, Canadian and U.S. data. And with that, we'll see you in the chat room. Thanks for joining us here on the European Crossover webinar.